Many of us who teach were more or less thrown into teaching online in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Prep time for me, which included using Zoom for the first time, consisted of little more than a week. My college offered a 2-hour workshop on Zoom, which covered the basics. Because I needed to be able to track attendance, lecture, and screen share, I ultimately had to figure out a number of things on my own. Zoom is a cloud-based communications application that lets you set up audio and video conferencing. You can set up webinars, live chats, screen sharing, etc. It's easy to set up and use, and there are free and paid versions. The main limitations of the free plan are the number of participants and the length of group meetings. You can record meetings, but can only record locally to your computer, which means you have to use another method to make them available to students: YouTube, Google Drive, Dropbox, etc. Unless you are managing meetings for a large corporation or school, either the free or pro versions should meet your needs. I use an enterprise plan through my university, which works best for me because my classes are 4 hours long. In addition, I have access to unlimited cloud storage where I can post recordings of classes to the cloud and make those recordings available for the duration of the semester. Because Zoom is easy to use, it is easier to hack. In addition to being easier to hack, there have been concerns about how Zoom uses users' personal data. New York schools, as well as some others, banned the use of Zoom for these reasons. However, New York City schools later rescinded this decision. Zoom bombing is when a session gets hijacked. I have not experienced this, but I do know a colleague who has, and it was very disturbing. But it should be noted that Zoom has worked to increase their security through the use of encryption, passwords, waiting rooms, and registration. Is Zoom safe to use? Yes, as long as you're not discussing state secrets or disclosing health information. To enhance security, you can use the web browser version, as it tends to get security enhancements faster than the app. Because it does not involve permission settings, the web browser version limits any harm that can be done to your computer. Zoom also added the option of requiring a password, which makes Zoom bombing less likely. The password, in an encrypted form, can be embedded into the meeting link, which adds security invisibly. Once you enable the password in your settings, it's automatic. My university requires the use of passwords for each session. My university also encourages the use of waiting rooms. When a participant logs in, they are placed in a waiting room and the host must admit them to the meeting. You can also require registration, which will allow participants to register with their email, name, and to answer any questions of your choosing. I tend to use a password embedded in the meeting link, and I ask students to join using their actual names. For more information on security concerns, you can check this site or just Google it. Account settings allow you to specify a number of things, such as enabling and disabling waiting rooms, security settings, whether or not passwords are required, whether or not participants have to sign in with an institutional address, your time zone. It helps if you and your participants are on the same time zone, whether or not participants are muted upon entry, and so on. Within the Zoom app, you can set preferences. You can choose a camera, whether to mirror your video. Mirroring video makes you look like what you see when you look in the mirror. If you show written material, you may see it look backwards in your Zoom window, but participants should see it normally. Sound settings can be tweaked to reduce latency when voice and video do not sync. It's less important for lectures, but very important for music. You can also choose closed caption settings for accessibility. In its simplest form, Zoom provides a conferencing format whereby students can watch streamed lectures or demonstrations. The basic format includes a main screen, which features a gallery of images of the host and each student. There is a participants window, where you can see a list and whether students have video or audio enabled or disabled. And there is a chat window where students can type out a question. The host or participant can enable or disable audio and or video. As meeting host, I make it a point to have everyone's microphones muted upon entry. Otherwise, you hear extraneous noise, which can interfere with the host talking. Participants can simply click on or off the icons in the control bar, or the host can mute everyone's audio. I keep myself on mute unless I need to speak, and then I just press the space bar to unmute and release it to mute. I prefer to have participants' video enabled, as it lets you see them, interact with them, and read facial expressions. It lets you know participants are present and engaged. However, it does take up bandwidth, and I have slow DSL internet. So in order to be able to broadcast a smooth presentation, I sometimes have participants disable their video. You can record a live lecture or demonstration, or you can record a presentation ahead of time and then post a link. Students can view the recording, pause, and replay as necessary in order to grasp the material being covered. The image here shows a screen share addressing how to work with formatting type. Video controls allow play, pause, or dragging the playhead to the desired location. There is a small window at the upper right that displays a video of the instructor. And while Zoom limits the amount of cloud storage depending on your plan, you also have the option of recording to your computer and posting to Google Drive, YouTube, etc. Zoom gives you the option of providing a transcript of the audio. While this sounds useful in theory, I found the transcriptions to be pretty poor, and I chose to disable them. Screen sharing allows you to choose only a particular program, or you can share your entire desktop. I found it was easier to share my desktop, as I often work with several applications at a time, such as making an adjustment to an image in Photoshop and then importing it into InDesign. It makes for a smoother presentation. You will also see the option to choose whiteboard. If you plan to show videos with sound, a YouTube video for example, be sure to check Share Computer Sound. This enables participants to hear the soundtrack. Screen sharing allows you to share your screen with students, or students can share their screens with the host or the entire class. When screen sharing is active, you can pause or stop as needed. In order to make learning more of an active pursuit as opposed to passive, I sometimes have students make short presentations demonstrating various concepts. I find remote control to be extremely helpful when students need help performing a task or when troubleshooting. Directing a student to click on the small icon that looks like a document page in the upper right and then choose one of the options from the drop-down window, well, you get the idea. It is more efficient to show them. A student must give permission for you to take control of their computer, so it is not invasive. I am careful to quit remote control and end the screen sharing session when the task is complete. Whiteboard can be set up through screen sharing, and both the instructor and students can write or draw on it. Whiteboard tools include adding text, drawing, erasing, formatting type, etc. Images cannot be imported. Multiple whiteboards can be saved and posted for students after the Zoom session. The best advice I can give is to take a workshop if your institution offers them. If not, you can find workshops, paid or free, on the web. Not everything you'll need will be covered in a single workshop, but Google is your friend. Search for information on using the specific features you need. Try to test things out ahead of time. I practice with friends. I make it a point to practice screen sharing, remote control, using the whiteboard, and working with chat. Remember that participants don't need to sign in, install software, or even have a Zoom account. Familiarize yourself with security features. If you plan to screen share, clean up your desktop. Participants don't need to see your desktop clutter. Redundancy is a good thing. I cover material in live demonstrations, and I review assignments and show examples. I record these sessions and post the link to students after the session. The conversion to video takes time, but generally recordings are made available the next day. I also post handouts in Canvas, my college's learning management system. All of that said, things can still go wrong, in which case exit the meeting as gracefully as you can and then work to find the solution to the problem. Don't look like a hostage. Optimize your camera angle. Prop your laptop on some books if you have to. You want the camera slightly above eye level. Your primary light source should be in front of you and behind the camera. If you sit in front of a giant window, your face will be underexposed, as in the left image. Webcams automatically adjust to the brightest light source. If that light is behind you, you're no longer the focus. Avoid being backlit by making sure there is not a giant bright window behind you. Try to balance your light to make sure you are visible. One light above or in front of you can cause dark shadows on your face or the background. Using multiple light sources from different angles will balance out your lighting. Fill the frame. Try to position yourself squarely in the middle with your face filling up about 1/3 of the space. We don't need to see all the stuff in your garage, as in this example. Position and balance your light to make sure you are visible. Using only one light source above or in front of you can cause dark shadows on your face or the background. Using multiple light sources from different angles will balance out your lighting. In a pinch, if you're working from a desktop computer, open your laptop or a tablet and open a blank document. The light from a secondary source can help even out your lighting. Make sure to select and test your microphone and speakers are working before your meeting starts. Unless you are working in a quiet space, use headphones and encourage students to do the same. If you are a participant or if you are pausing to do something, mute your audio. No one needs to hear your dog barking, toddler tantrums, or the toilet flushing in the middle of meetings. Also, beware if you are using both a microphone and speakers. The microphone can receive output from the speakers, creating an echo or feedback. This happened to me while playing guitar via Zoom, and it was impossible to hear myself play. We've all seen it when audio and video are not synchronized. This is called latency. It is less of an issue when the host and participants only need to speak, but if music is involved, it can seem more pronounced. If you are using the Zoom app, go to Preferences, Audio, and choose Advanced. Under Audio Processing, adjust Noise Suppression to Disable. In addition, Zoom now allows you to preserve original sound. This must first be enabled under Account Settings, in Meeting, under Advanced. This preserves the sound from your microphone without using any audio enhancing features. To choose original sound when actively using Zoom, choose the microphone drop-down menu and choose Audio Settings, then Advanced. Select Original Sound. Original sound will then appear as an option in the upper left of the meeting window. For meetings for which I only need to speak, I find using an external microphone helpful. It puts a microphone closer to me so I don't have to speak as loud, and I can adjust the sensitivity called gain. This helps reduce noise, such as a hum of computers or the tapping of the keyboard. I also find it helpful to place the microphone on a pad of paper to help reduce vibrations and keyboard noise. I use a Yeti Blue USB condenser microphone. I use the cardioid setting, which establishes a space around the microphone where it is most sensitive to sound. In addition, I wear headphones that are plugged directly into the microphone. This works well when I am teaching online or narrating instructional videos. For music, I did an experiment with classical guitar and trying different equipment and settings. First, I tried using the built-in mic and speakers on a laptop. This was okay for speaking, but the guitar was particularly twangy. Next, I tried an external USB condenser microphone, shown in the previous slide, with headphones plugged directly into it. This was better, but still twangy. After that, I tried 2 condenser mics placed at the left and right of where I was seated. The mics were put in anti-shock mounts to eliminate picking up vibrations. These were plugged into an audio interface, which is plugged into my laptop. I also plug in headphones into the interface. To reduce latency, noise suppression was turned off. When in the meeting, I selected original sound. The result is quite good, even with a slow internet connection. These arrangements are just 2 possibilities, but they provide a good starting point. From the student side of things, technology adds yet another aspect to the mix. Some students don't have equipment or software. Thankfully, Adobe made the Creative Suite free to students at colleges and universities that held site licenses through July. However, many students work on laptops with relatively small screens, minimal RAM, or they have unreliable internet. This is another reason to record meetings. The ideal session length for classes is said to be 10 to 15 minutes, not practical for a college class that is hours long. Still, you can schedule breaks periodically, putting Zoom on pause. I find students resist taking breaks, but they really do need to get up, walk around, and look at something other than a computer screen. I start by engaging students at the beginning of class by taking attendance or by asking a quick question that requires a response. Redundancy works to your advantage. Revisiting the class agenda throughout a Zoom session helps students focus and remember what they're trying to accomplish, rather than just following instructions of click here and select that. Screen sharing and/or the whiteboard are helpful tools as well. Screen sharing allows a student to see exactly how a task is executed, and the whiteboard can provide notes for the entire class. I like to ask a student to enter whiteboard notes, as it both makes them an active participant and gives them responsibility to themselves and to their classmates. You can also use Zoom's polling feature, which functions like a survey. To break up a longer presentation, you can insert short exercises to make the class more active than passive. I also meet individually with students to review work in progress so they get input into refinements they need to make. In my experience, the biggest problem is my not being able to wander the room and look over students' shoulders. And although I do schedule individual meetings, it's just one point of contact, when ordinarily I would connect a number of times during an in-person lab session. Some college students taking a course may be taking it as an elective and may not be as invested or motivated as someone who is taking it as a requirement for a major. Ultimately, it is the student's responsibility to learn, By presenting them with a variety of tools, such as video tutorials, handouts, Zoom sessions, individual meetings, they can make decisions about how they learn best. As an instructor, you can only do your best to provide them with the tools to do this and to encourage their participation and engagement.